Forced me to do it. You forced me to do it. By the time Downtown Deuce did a video on Dannis Jenkins, I was like, really? Dannis Jenkins? And I want to dive into that. I also want to dive into this offseason, continue the conversation around different teams that you want to hear me talk about. This is an interactive live conversation. So those of you who get on, if you hit that bell for notifications, and that means you're getting notified right now. Yo, your man 100 grand, Ross with the Rock Never Stops is live. It's time to get on and have a conversation. What have you been thinking about? What have you been considering? Are you thinking about Portland? You're thinking about Washington? You're watching this Pacers Bulls Summer League game and have some thoughts? Now's the time to share it. And we're here to talk about it. But before we do, make sure you smash the like button for me. Hit subscribe and the bell for notifications so you can be notified the next time that I go live so you can be a part of the conversation. I don't do it at a set time because I got a life and I got things going on. I got work, I got my own business. I'm a dad. I got other things. So you got to catch it. Hit the bell. With that, I'm really curious what y'all really see in Dannis Jenkins. Look, I'm going to be real with y'all. You know I'm a Marcus Sasser fan. I am. And to an extent, there's a little bit of like protect your guy when it comes to Dannis Jenkins. Like, man, I don't want him to try to come in and take my guy's spot. But the more I thought about it, it's like, all right, shit happens, right? But at the same time, what are we really looking at? Some of you guys are talking about backup point guard. Backup. The backup point guard for a playoff team. That was Dennis Schroeder last year. And I'm going to get into some of the nuances of like roster formation and roles on teams and what you can like actually expect from that role on this current a rendition of the Detroit Pistons going into next season. I'm going to get into all of that. But let me just start off. You guys are comparing him to a Dennis Schroeder based upon what you're seeing in Summer League. In Summer League. Like not summertime flies. My daughter must have left the screen open. Either way. It's Summer League. It's Summer League. It's not the preseason where you're facing NBA players. It's not even early in the regular season. We're talking about Summer League. You guys are projecting our backup guard spot. That means you're in our top 10 rotation. That means, along with Ron Holland, Isaiah Stewart, Duncan Robinson, Karis LeVert, you're saying Dannis Jenkins can be amongst them. Let me just put it this way. My synopsis of Dannis Jenkins. He's a good player. And this is by no means hate at all. This is me actually telling y'all what I believe when I look at basketball and I look at the levels of it. Saying you're not at this level is not saying you're not good. Saying you're not at this level doesn't mean you're not great. It just means to get to this level, who you have to be may not be who you are. And when I look at Dannis Jenkins, I'm looking somewhere down here. He's a good player. If he goes the international route, goes over to Spain, he could be a league MVP. He could be a $10 million a year player, starring for a team. If he's in the G League, he's probably tearing it up, killing them. 18 plus points per game, gets a whole bunch of shots. But on this team, that's where the conversation begins. In this league, in the NBA, what does it take to be a backup point guard? Now let's take a look at some of the backup point guards out there, right? The quality backup point guards where you could say like, oh, this team has a good backup point guard. Peyton Pritchard. Peyton Pritchard, for all intents and purposes, was almost considered a high school phenom. And when I say high school phenom, I mean like he was known for being him. A shifty, short white dude who could light Joe behind up. Handles, could get to wherever he wanted to go. He was a top ranked player, 5-star recruit, went to Oregon. And now he's balling. And it took him maybe 3 to 4 years to really crack that rotation and earn those minutes. Peyton Pritchard is an example. You look at another team, TJ McConnell. How long did it take TJ McConnell to crack a rotation? I think he was undrafted or second round pick in Philadelphia, biding his time, 4-year senior coming out of college. Played in Philly, had to wait a couple years before he really got an opportunity. Enough injuries took place, and all of a sudden he kind of was able to crack that rotation. Had enough good games in a row before he was able to come to Indiana, and still had to bide his time to be a regular rotation guy, to be considered a quality backup point guard for a playoff team. You look at last season, the Milwaukee Bucks. Kevin Porter Jr. was the backup to Damian Lillard. Kevin Porter Jr. is 6'5" with about a 40-inch vertical. Get to wherever he wants to go, and is now the starter in Milwaukee. Scottie Pippen Jr. in Memphis, the backup point guard behind John Morant. Had to play all 4 years, time in the G League. He can facilitate, he can shoot, he can get his own shot, and he's got the NBA pedigree from his pops. He's familiar with this. And he's had to earn his time. Lakers, Memphis Grizzlies. Dannis Jenkins has not even played NBA games. He doesn't play meaningful NBA games. And this is where I'm asking y'all to bear with me and slow down on Dannis Jenkins' expectations. If you're not even out of the G League yet, signed to a full-time roster, you're not being considered for a rotation position. At the most, you are fighting to make the roster. That's what you're fighting for. To be a number 13, 14, 15 at the end of the roster. That's what you're legitimately fighting for. To go from a two-way player to a full-time NBA player. Not being told to go down to the G. Not riding on buses. Right? Not having to do your own stretching and your own weight room exercises and stuff like that, where you may have a trainer on staff, but there's only one, instead of there being maybe like 3, 4, 5, 6 trainers, massage therapists, all these different things, right? Like fighting for an opportunity to be in the NBA is not the same as a guy who's signed to be in the NBA. So when you talk about Dannis Jenkins' potential and being an NBA rotation backup point guard, I'm asking you to kind of pump your brakes a little bit. He's having good summer league games. Against who? Against who? Reed Shepherd was not in the NBA last year. Reed Shepherd was a G Leaguer. Who is he going up against? That we say to ourselves, he's showing me he's an NBA rotation guy. When I look at Marcus Sasser, and here's the big difference. Not just the fluidity of his scoring ability, not just his ability to knock down open shots at a high clip, not just his ability to impact winning even in short spurts, but his ability to move in tight spaces with a level of handle that I said a couple years ago, he had the best handle between him, Cade, and Ivy. He had the best handle. He had the tightest handle, the most sure handle that I saw. Now, last season was kind of, to me, was an aberration. They asked him to play outside of himself, and I think that caused him to be in situations that he wasn't necessarily comfortable with. And a lot of us are projecting, oh, well, we still need somebody to fill the role that he couldn't last year. We need a Dennis Schroeder type. The thing is, we needed Dennis Schroeder because we didn't have Jaden Ivey. That's why we needed Dennis Schroeder. We have Ivy back. Not only do we have Ivy back, we have Asar Thompson full time now, point forward. Not only that, we also have Jalen Duren, who's evolving in his ability to bring the ball up the court after rebounds, to initiate the offense after he brings it up. Not just that, you also have Karis LeVert, who's another guy who needs the ball in his hands. So the role, even which a lot of you are thinking about attributing to Dannis Jenkins, isn't necessarily the role that's going to even be available this coming season. We don't need a table setter coming off the bench. This is my true belief, and I've said this many times. We do not need another person to come in and dominate the ball and set things up for everybody. That's not what we need this season. Last season, yes, I get it. Asar Thompson was not full time, coming back from blood clots. Cade was tired. He was exhausted. No Jaden Ivey, right? We didn't have a secondary ball handler. This season, not only do we have a secondary ball handler in Jaden Ivey, we have a tertiary set of ball handlers in Asar Thompson, Karis LeVert, and now even Jalen Duren. It's not saying Jalen Duren is going to be running the point for us. It's to say that he is going to be given the opportunity and encouraged to get rebounds and accelerate it up the court and initiate offense, along with Asar Thompson and Jaden Ivey. And when Cade comes out the game, guess who's going to be staggered into those minutes to be a primary ball handler? Jaden Ivey. And then even when he's not in the game, and let's say by happenstance, both of them are not in the game, you know who's going to be there? Karis LeVert, Asar Thompson, right? So you don't necessarily need a guy to come in off the bench to be a Dennis Schroeder type and set the table. You're actually going to need a guy to be more along the lines of who Marcus Sasser has always been, a bucket. Go knock down shots, move without the ball, attack the defense, see if you can collapse it and create for yourself and others, playing off of these ball dominant players. Marcus Sasser's ability to do that far supersedes that of Dannis Jenkins. Far supersedes it. Literally, Marcus Sasser to me is one of the most legitimate scorers that I've seen in the NBA, especially if you're talking about coming off the bench. Coming off the bench, it's a very small list of guys who I can see consistently creating their own shot. I honestly believed if he was getting minutes instead of Malik Beasley in the playoffs against the Knicks, that could have been a completely different series. I think Dannis should be on the. What'd you say, Dante? You deleted it. So this is where I'm kind of going with the Dannis Jenkins conversation. What you guys are pointing out, why he could be effective for us, is not necessarily even a role that we're going to have next season. And then even if he somehow makes the end of this roster, he's not better than Marcus Sasser, who's been playing with this roster for 2 years now. Remember, he was balling for us in his rookie year. And then last year, he wasn't in the G League the last 2 years. He was on the active roster. First round pick. I think Dannis should be on the roster for depth, but not necessarily in the rotation. I would agree with that as well. I say have him at the end of the rotation, end of the bench, 14th, 15th guy. I think him and Tolu Smith, I'm not mad at you filling in your roster there. I'm not mad at that at all. There's going to be a lot of things moving and shaking as the season goes along, especially as they get to the trade deadline and consolidation trades are potentially made, especially with the advancement that Ron Holland is making. He may end up being our sixth man, which could position us to make some other moves and to upgrade certain areas because everybody wants the power forward position upgraded. Take your time. Take your time. Ron Holland's going to get a lot of those minutes. All right. He might be up to 20 minutes a game, taking some of Tobias Harris's minutes, and then still having that 30 plus minutes for Asar, Ivy, and Cade. All this to say is that Dannis Jenkins, he's not our backup point guard, bro. He's not. You have to get minutes regularly with the roster. to be trusted in terms of chemistry, how you're going to play with the rest of those guys before you can be considered to be an active rotation player for a playoff team. Remember, they're literally legitimately looking at being the third seed in the East. That's home court advantage. You don't ask a guy who's been in the G League for the past 2 years to be your backup point guard for a third seeded home court advantage playoff team. Chiefy Holiday was good, man. This team is deep. Cracking the rotation won't be easy unless you're a legitimate NBA player. Big facts. Because I can see current players not getting much burn. I'm just saying. That's 100%. Like, cause if you have, let's say, bear with me on this. You got Dannis Jenkins or you got Markel Fultz. Who would you trust more? Who would you trust more? I gotta go with Markel Fultz, right? He's doing things in real NBA time. He has experience as a real time NBA starting point guard. It's a completely different experience than the G League and Summer League. So all the things you could say about Danny Jenkins and Markel Fultz is looking to be what? A backup point guard who's looking to stick around in the league. That's the real climate of talent in the NBA right now. Right. Chris Dunn was a top, 5 pick. He's a backup point guard. Lockdown, 6'4", 6'9" wingspan, athletic, became a defensive hound, turned into Patrick Beverly just to stick in the league, came in as a scorer, right, with Minnesota Timberwolves and then bounced around. That's your backup level of competition. You're telling me Dannis Jenkins is getting buckets against Chris Dunn? I doubt it. I doubt it. That's what it looks like. That's the level. Cason Wallace. That's who you're looking at. Those guys don't go down to the G League. They're in active rosters, in rotations, figuring it out because they're far too good to go to the G League, far too talented. I don't think Dannis Jenkins is going to be that for us. I just don't. But I do want to know what you all think. Let me know in the comment section. I also want to continue the conversation of who you want me to talk about, what teams you want me to talk about of what's going on throughout this offseason. What moves do you like that this team is making, that team is making? Yeah, we only grabbed Schroeder to play backup because of the Ivy injury. That is 100% correct. 100% correct. Otherwise, Dennis Schroeder would have never came to the Detroit Pistons. He's too good. He's too good. He's a fringe starter. He's a starter who will probably never be an all-star, but he's a starter nonetheless. And at worst, he's a six man of the year potential candidate who's that good. Like he's either a six man that looks like your starter, or he's a starter that makes you wish he had a little bit more so he can be a starter you can really see starring for you, if that makes sense. I kind of wanted Dennis Schroeder to go to Minnesota. That's actually where I really wanted him to go, if I was honest. I was like, yo, you go to Minnesota or you go to Miami. But I'm not mad. He's gonna get the opportunity in Sacramento, setting the table there. DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, point of attack defender, which they need desperately. Keegan Murray, Demonis Sabonis. He's really going to help them out defensively. And then with Keon Ellis as the backup point guard there, I think they're going to have. And they also have Carter. What's his name? I think it's Andre. No, that's Andre Jackson. Devon Carter, I think. What's his name? The backup point guard in Sacramento. Either way, um, I think he's in a good a situation because Dennis Schroeder has always been a starting level point guard. That's what you're looking at. So when you say Dannis Jenkins as your backup, you're saying he could be a starter in the NBA? That's a big jump if he's playing in the G League. Let me see. Oh man, who am I thinking of? Devin Carter. Devin Carter. Let me see. Let me see. Chiefy Holiday. Do you think Chaz will get a chance to show what he can do or get sent to the G League until a rotation spot is up for grabs? I think he's too good for the G League. I think if he's in the G League, they're going to let him just light it up to stay hot. But if I'm honest with you, I think they keep him with the main roster because they want him to have an opportunity to uh, to get familiar with the system and the other starters so that he can slide into that role and be ready to rock. I think that's what they want. They want him ready to rock. Because if somebody gets hurt, Duncan Robinson gets hurt, they're gonna you're up. So they're gonna want him to know the system. They're gonna want him to have chemistry. So I think he stays on the active roster. So if we're looking at, we got our five, right? Cade, Ivy Asar, Tobias Harris, Jalen Duren. Off the bench, we have Karis LeVert, Duncan Robinson, Isaiah Stewart, Ron Holland. Then you've got Marcus Sasser and Bobby Klintman. That's 11. Then you've got likely Chaz Lanier. That's 12. And then you're looking at potentially Dannis Jenkins and Tolu Smith. That's 14. That's 14. That's the type of lineup that I think it works. We're going to have depth and we're going to be good to go. Hang on one second. We back. So when I think about the oh shoot, I did leave out Paul Reed. So that's 15. I think Paul Reed is somewhere on this roster, probably with Chaz Lanier, like behind Bobby Klintman and Marcus Sasser, because they're not necessarily looking at Paul Reed as like he's a break in case of emergency guy. That's who he is. He's a guy that is going to be in the NBA for a long time, almost like a Tristan Thompson. Does a lot of the dirty work, does a lot of little things, can be really effective in short spurts. You don't want to have to depend upon him for long minutes because you see the NBA is getting bigger. It's getting back to being what the NBA used to be, a big man's league. Period. Stephen Curry is on his way out. You don't have any flamethrowers like that really in the NBA anymore. Damian Lillard is on his way out. Kyrie, last leg type of thing. Um, you don't necessarily have those dominant point guards uh, who really are going to be on the perimeter like that. What you're really getting back to is how can you score efficiently and effectively? And there is no shot that is more efficient or effective than a dunk. And if you have a 7'2" guy like Hansen Yang and Donovan Clingan, if you got a bunch of dudes who can finish at the rim consistently, especially in the playoffs where your shooting percentage goes down, that's who you want. Paul Reed at 6'9". Let me get his actual measurements. Let me just pull it up real quick. Because I'm pretty sure says 6'9". Is that with shoes or without? He's 26 years old. Let's see, 28th pick. Second round. Let me see. Sorry, just bear with me. 2020 NBA draft. That's when 2020. That was his draft. Okay, let me see. Pull it up here. I like to pull up the stats and the information. What is his height without shoes? If y'all want to interact, pull it up for me. Read. Here we go. So he's 6'8" and a half. 6'8" and a half without shoes. So this is something to think about when you're thinking about Paul Reed playing center. Now I believe he has a 7'3" wingspan. And that's dope. 7'2" wingspan. Okay. Gives great effort. That's not a guy you want to depend upon if you're going up against 7-footers. It's not. He uses his athleticism to its maximum to get to loose balls and hustle points and moving around. But it's just not what we're looking for. It's just not. Um, Hang on one second. All right, I didn't want to make this one quick. Ah, but yeah. Any teams you want you want me to go over right now? Any teams? Let me see. Dillingham might need another year before Minnesota trusts him with significant point guard responsibilities. I think so too. I think it's another year. Um, Keon Ellis starting on the Kings? No, it's going to be Dennis Schroeder. They didn't really trust him to start last year, and they still got Malik Monk over there, I believe. So if they still got Malik Monk, who's going to be behind Dennis Schroeder, because Dennis Schroeder is the point of attack defender who can also, like I said, set the table. Yeah, Malik Monk is still on the roster. Yeah, Keon Ellis more than likely is going to be within the guard rotation as well. But then they still got Devin Carter, Nick Clifford. They have a glutton at the guard position that they need to open up some minutes and opportunities. Don't be shocked if DeMar DeRozan is on his way out sooner than later. But they need an athletic big to slide in over there. Um, Let me see. We finally have good pieces, so I can see assets and or picks getting moved in the future when it's time to go for it. If that's the plan, facts, facts. I completely agree with that. Completely agree. I think that this team is going to be able to play at a high level, and they're not going to be desperate for any pick. Like anyone coming in is not necessarily like, oh, come in and save us. Similar to the Oklahoma City Thunder, when they went on and got Alex Caruso and even Isaiah Hartenstein, it wasn't like a we didn't just win 57 games type of deal. You know what I mean? They were winning, and they saw an opportunity to go all in with a couple of guys who could get them over the hump. The hump being a championship or a trip to the NBA Finals, which ended up being a championship. Could have went either way. I think that's what the Detroit Pistons are positioning themselves for. And I think that by the time they get to the trade deadline, you're going to see openings. You're going to see guys who are like, yeah, we gave it a go. And now we recognize we're not heading into the playoffs and we want to get off of this contract. That's when the Pistons might be able to strike. Hey, we thought we were going to be able to play really well, but you know what? We're not. Jaren Jackson becomes available. Jabari Smith Jr. becomes available. John Collins becomes available. Right? Like some random you didn't realize this guy was going to be available until he did, and now the Pistons strike. Now they position themselves for a deep playoff run. I think that's what we see. Any teams you want to discuss before I hop off? Um, I know some of the teams I was looking at today. I was watching this Pacers Bulls summer league game, and I was really really impressed. The Pacers have a stable of talent, an absolute stable of talent. You're looking at guys, Jarris Walker, Johnny Furphy, even though he had some really bad closeout fouls. Ah, man, but you can see the talent. Johnny Furphy had probably the biggest dunks. He did the Vince Carter on Alonzo Mourning dunk, where he like cocked it back and he brought it down low, only to bring it back over the top and bang on him. He banged on Noah Esingwe of the Chicago Bulls. That was a hell of a dunk. And then I'm looking at Cam Jones. He looked really good. Enrique Freeman was looking good in that rotation. The Indiana Pacers, I do not think are going to skip too much of a beat. The biggest thing they're going to have to do is figure out what they're going to do at that center position. Probably going to have to do it by committee. Probably going to go a little bit smaller than they may have wanted to. But I think that getting what's his name from the Memphis Grizzlies. I just talked about him a moment ago. Let's see, it should be updated rosters. Where is he at? Oh, Jay Huff. Yeah, appreciate it. Jay Huff. I think that's a great pickup for them. He's a legitimate 7-footer. He's got athleticism, can play above the rim. But I think I believe they re-signed or still have under contract Isaiah Jackson. Let me see. But they still got Obi Toppin, who I think gets a lot more minutes. James Wiseman looks like he's under contract as well. So I think that he's going to get a lot more minutes. Jarris Walker gives them depth in the front court as well. So it's going to be kind of by committee. But they're going to have a lot of athleticism. A lot of athleticism. Um, And so they're going to figure that out. But the guard rotation, missing Tyrese Halliburton, I don't think it's going to be as big of a hit. I think they go with a more defensive, athletic backcourt. I think we see someone like Benedict Mathurin start for them alongside Andrew Nemhard, who's going to be in a bigger role. And we'll see how he does. Because I think a lot of people still have a lot of upside attributed to Andrew Nemhard. They're looking at him like, man, he can be really good. He can really do some things for us. Uh, and potentially looks like he could be like a fringe all-star type of a point guard. But now is the moment he has a chance to show it. So we'll see what the Pacers do. But I expect Benedict Mathurin because they also need to figure out Benedict Matherin's value. He had two really good games in the game seven, and I think it was like game two or three. Uh, the Suns. Okay, we'll get to them next. We'll get to them next. Um, but I'll say when it comes to the Pacers, they need to figure out if Benedict Mathurin is a future starting level off guard, shooting guard, because he has a type of talent. Honestly, he has real talent as a scorer. Sometimes he gets lost on defense. You saw what happened when he can get more locked in defensively, but he still lacks in a lot of other areas and putting forth his effort for rebounds, loose balls, making rotations, getting into the passing lane, like doing all the little things along with scoring that really justify you being a starting level off guard. Like most starting level shooting guards are getting you 5 rebounds, getting you 4 to 5 rebounds and 4 to 5 assists, right? Those guys, that's generally what the position is calling for. That you can handle that guard role along with being a scorer, shooter, floor spacer, etc. If all you're doing is scoring, you're really positioning yourself to be a combo guard off the bench, a scoring spark off the bench, which is kind of how Rick Carlisle has played him. This is the season he has a chance to prove himself. Coming off the NBA Finals run, I think he steps into this opportunity. It's his for the taking. It's his for the taking. But I also like Cam Jones. I like him a lot. TJ McConnell's going to be right there. And then you have other guys who are still looking for an opportunity. So we'll see. Let me see the other team. Let me see who we. I'm late, but I'm guessing my man was steamed from that comment about Dennis Jenkins being. I was Joe. I was a little because it was like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Right? Like most backup point guards, most quality backup point guards can also legitimately start for you for a stretch of games if need be. Right? Scottie Pippen Jr., Peyton Pritchard, TJ McConnell, right? Dennis Schroeder, right? Like these guys at times are your starter, right? So if you're saying Dannis Jenkins is your backup point guard, you're also saying you can see him as your starter for a playoff team. Is that what you're saying by summer league, which is the extent of seeing quality minutes from him? Unless you want to count G League too. His best minutes as an NBA player have been in the G League and summer league. If you're saying that guy is your potential starter on a playoff team, on a team that's looking to be the third seed in the East, what are we talking about? So that's where I was like, pump your brakes. Now let's get to the Phoenix Suns. Once again, this is an interactive chat. If you're enjoying it, smash the like button for me, hit subscribe and the bell for notifications. It's a little thing, but it's a big thing. Helps out with the channel algorithm. It also makes sure that you get notified when I go live again because this is interactive. So I'm getting to the portion of this live where if you want to talk about teams that you're excited about, that are making moves this offseason, let me know in the comment section and we will get to them next and we can talk back and forth. Right now, we're headed to the Phoenix Suns. My man, Tara G. I don't know if I've seen you in the chat before, Tara G, but welcome to the community. Hope you smash the like button, hit subscribe, and the bell for notifications. Welcome to the community. How do you think the Suns will do after the Jalen and Dylan trade? I do not think that Jalen will be on this roster long. He's too big of a talent. They are not going to give him up for nothing. That's for certain. He's not going to be a for nothing guy. You know who I just talked about would be he might be a great fit on Indiana Pacers. The Indiana Pacers. Look, they don't often get high end talent. They often don't. It's hard for them to get that level of talent. The Paul Georges, right? The Victor Oladipos. But I can imagine Rick Carlisle with Jalen Green, Andrew Nimhard running the point, or TJ McConnell, or Tyrese Halliburton when he comes back. And you have a Jalen Green level scorer with one of the best coaches of all time in Rick Carlisle. You also have a humbled Jalen Green, right? So he's coming into a situation where it's like, yeah, we don't need you to do all that off the bounce stuff and trying to do all the moves. No, no, no. We're going to simplify your game in order to maximize it for this team that just went to the NBA Finals, where you're playing with other all NBA level players, which you are not. So now we need to have you maximize what you're best at: catch and shoot, straight line drives, get out in transition, utilize your athleticism to really make an impact in other ways. I think he can be what they hope Benedict Mathurin one day becomes, right? So I wouldn't be shocked if you see a move where you see a trade and they're like, hey, let's take this contract for maybe you combine an Aaron Neesmith, Obi Toppin, and then you say, we'll include Benedict Mathurin. That's about 30 million. And then you go out and you go to Phoenix and you say, hey, Jalen Green at 33 million, 36, 36 for the next 3 years. That could be an amazing consolidation trade. And you pair him with Andrew Nimhard. Hell yeah. Now, I also like Quentin Jackson there too. So I think that that's the type of move that I would not be shocked. But I think Dylan Brooks is a great piece to partner next to Devin Booker. Bradley Beal working on that buyout. I don't know if it's happened yet. He's still listed as a part of the roster, but if it has, great job. Just move on, Phoenix. But I like the Dylan Brooks, Devin Booker combination in Phoenix, and I think that they have a lot of young guy, Kamen Malawach, Mark Williams. They have some size on the interior, along with Nick Richards, along with also Iguodaro. I like him as well. Rasheer Fleming, Kobe Brea, Isaiah Livers. I like some of these guys, hard workers. Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal. Um, they have a lot of good culture guys. But what I don't see is a legitimate backup point guard, or even starting point guard. Who is the point guard there? It can't be Bradley Beal or Grayson Allen. So, I wouldn't be shocked. Hey, make a move. Maybe you have to include somebody like TJ McConnell. It would suck for us, but I think you can get away with it with Quentin Jackson. Um, you know, Cam Jones. You got those guys. Ben Shepherd is still there, but you need to upgrade. What's good, Marvin Tolbert? What's good, man? What up? Oh, what's good? What's good? So Phoenix, yeah, I like the trade for them. I think Jalen Green is not there for long. Devin Booker, they just extended him. I think they continue to build around him. I think Dylan Brooks is a great combination on the wing for him. Takes a lot of pressure off of him defensively, but they need a real point guard. And if they can get someone like a TJ McConnell to go run the show over there, I think it looks great. I think they have a shot to, at least be competitive in the West, which is what they should be targeting and moving towards. But yeah, who else do you want to chop it up about before I hop off this in a little bit? Um, Devin Walls, aka Mr. My City. I don't think I've seen you in there before. But welcome to the community. Welcome to the community. Hope you smash the like button, hit subscribe and the bell for notifications. That's how you get notified when I do these lives. We're in the part of the live stream where we talk about other teams and moves that they're making throughout this offseason. Who do you like? Who do you want to chop it up about? It's an opportunity to mention in the comment section, and we'll go from there. Once again, if you want to leapfrog other people's suggestions, just send me a super chat. You go right to the top. Just woke up from a 5-hour nap. Don't even know if that's considered a nap. What I miss? Oh, Dannis Jenkins is fighting for the 14th and 15th spot on the roster. Fighting for it. He's not our backup point guard. Period. So all that conversation sounds good. Stop using the G League tryout of the Summer League to project your rotation for a playoff team. Just don't think that's a good look. Um, so hopefully we shut down a lot of that conversation. It's foolish. And the role that we're looking for is not even a facilitating point guard anymore. We're looking for a scorer, bucket shooter, who Marcus Sasser already is, and he has more reps with the lineups he's going to be playing with. So why are you going to bring in a guy who's never played with this lineup of guys? He's never played with Cade, Ivy, Asar. That's so. What are we talking about? It's just yeah, I don't know what we're talking about. But I had to shut that down though real quick. Let me see. Got to be honest, I was on board for a Booker acquisition just a little bit, but after seeing that extension, oh my God, that would have killed us. I told y'all. I told y'all. I told you. I told you. But you know that move that they made is often it reminds me of when Washington extended Bradley Beal to that monstrous extension. It's kind of the move that teams that are desperate and they don't have much of a direction, they have to hang on to somebody that the fans can point to be like, oh, this is why we continue to buy tickets and tune into games. So they had to extend him. They had to have that guy. Um, but I don't think it necessarily moves their needle. I do like the Dylan Brooks acquisition though, but I'm really glad that we didn't go after him. And I think, besides, I think Jaden Ivey is going to be able to do a lot of what he's doing in the next couple of years for half the cost. So, what are we talking about? Let me see. Joe B, the issue for a team where everything is generated from our point guard position, if they have to sub in for Cade, you've probably lost. Teams with scoring forwards, however, can afford that swap. But here's the thing: we are shifting away from a heliocentric offense. We had to because Asar was out and Ivy got hurt, and we didn't have a lot of guys who could be ball dominant and play make and create for others, or set the table. So we had to be focused on Cade. That was last season. Last season's offense should not be this season's offense. If we look ball dominant like we did last season, this season, we are going to be in trouble. And it will be an indictment on JB Bickerstaff because it will affirm what they were saying about him in Cleveland, that he could not expand his offense to really include other talents so that they can grow into their roles and really maximize who they can be, i.e., Evan Mobley. And the word on the street was that Davion Mitchell was like, "Come on, bro, we need you to expand this offense," and that's why he ended up getting let go, despite leading that team into the playoffs when they were not a playoff team for the longest. In other words, JB Bickerstaff's offense will and should expand going into this next season. So it should not be a heliocentric one. It should not be one that falls off the moment Cade comes out the game. Jaden Ivey should have a lot of those reps. Asar Thompson, and even Karis LeVert. Period. Dennis probably does eventually find his way as a rotation player for somebody, if not the Pistons. Yeah, but he's an end of the bench guy. If anything, by the time he's turning 28, 29, 30, he might work his way into that lead backup guard role if he's still in the NBA. Because remember, more talent comes in every year. So he's competing against, well, you got this guy, Brown Jr., next year's draft, who looks like he's a top 4 pick, right? Like, you got to compete against him, right? You got guys who are top guard picks from last year's draft, right? The one that's in OKC, right? He's going to be a guy. Like, you have so much talent coming in year after year. I don't necessarily look at Dannis Jenkins and see so much pop that I'm just like, yeah, they're going to give him a long runway to figure it out in the NBA. He might have 1 or 2 opportunities to figure it out on on an active roster, and a lot of things have to break his way. Injuries, knock on wood, or things like that that create an opportunity. Guys get traded and say, "Hey, we trust you to give you this opportunity for a stretch of a month or two over the course of a back end of a season, right, or something like that." So a lot has to break for him to have a consistent opportunity. Let me see. All right, if you didn't hear, Koo did clarify that that he should have specified he meant Dennis as a third point guard, since Ivy and Levert are gonna get those reps. I'm glad he did, because I was like, bro, you can't keep doing this to yourself, bro. You're making it easy. You're making it easy to get on your top. All right, but what's another team you want to talk about this off season, if any? Otherwise, I'm probably gonna hop off. Apparently, you've been lying about the G League all these years. Yeah, Oh, what do you think the starting lineup for the Rockets is going to be? Ooh, Dante. We'll talk about the Rockets. We can do that. We can do that. Let me start with this. Oh, the Rockets have made some moves, some real moves. Fred VanVleet, Amen Thompson, Kevin Durant, Alperen Şengün, Jabari Smith Jr. That is your starting lineup. That is your best five. That is the lineup that head coach Ime Udoka is going to be expected to be able to maximize their talents within an offensive system. Let's be clear. Houston cannot be the type of offense where their best offense is generated by defense and turnovers. They don't have a roster for that anymore. They don't. They don't. What's good? Caleb Bose the ninth. Yo, what up, though, man? What's good? What's good? What's good? Right now we're in a segment where we're talking about the Houston Rockets. Um, but it's to say he's gonna have to adjust that offensive system. When you got guys like drink some water, mommy. Drink some water. When you got guys like Kevin Durant, Alperen Şengün, this is not the type of set of guys who can do pressure defense 94 feet. Fred VanVleet, no. Tari Eason, okay. Amen Thompson, okay. Jabari Smith, yes. But the rest of that roster, the Reed Shepherds, Steven Adams, Clint Capella, Dorian Finney-Smith, these are not guys who are going to be pressure guys to turn you over. This is going to have to morph into more of a team that dominates you in the half court and somehow still also maximizes the talents of an Amen Thompson, right? So he is going to have to really adjust his game, adjust his schemes, his X's and O's, and this is where he will be assessed and graded. Because remember, when he was in Boston, head coach Ime Udoka, when he was in Boston, that was one of the things that no Jay Sean Tate, I think he's gone, he's out of there. Or did they bring him back? I don't know. But if they brought it back, I don't see him being a part of the rotation. Not with Tari Eason. Uh, I do like Aaron Holiday. I do like Aaron Holiday. I do think he's going to be an active part of the rotation, along with Dorian Finney-Smith, Clint Capella, who's probably going to play more than Steven Adams, if I'm honest with you. Tari Eason. We'll see if Reed Shepard can do something off the bench. They could use a shooting guard. Kevon Harris, he's been nice for a while, but they'll have a lot of length, but not necessarily a lot of shooting. So it's going to be interesting to see how they put that together. Um, but they have the talent. They have the talent. They have length. They have physicality. They have guys who are built for playoff basketball. And more than anything, they have top end talent between Amen Thompson and Kevin Durant. And then that next tier with Alperen Şengün, they should be able to compete in the playoffs. They should be right back at that 3-4 seed in the Western Conference. I don't think they get back to number 2 because I don't think this team is necessarily built for the regular season. They're built for the playoffs now. But I would like to see them go out and get another shooter, another shooting guard or shooter off the bench. I would love for them to get someone like Malik Monk. That could be nail in the coffin. Wow, let's punch our ticket, try to get into the finals. Because now you got that six man of the year type of energy. Um, Guy who could come in and take over off the bench. But as I say, Houston is going to be interesting. I like the talent, right? Aaron Holiday, Dorian Finney-Smith off the bench with Tari Eason, even Clint Capella off the bench. Um, I just think that they need a shooter. Let me see. Who else y'all want to talk about? Yeah, we're talking about the Rockets a little bit. Okay, okay, okay. Think the G League sucks? Okay, I don't think it sucks. It's just not NBA level, so you can't necessarily scale up somebody does in the G League to what they're going to look like in the pros. Um, it's kind of nuts. The Rockets were only 22nd in three pointers last season, with 1,038, 130, 1,038, and they shipped 485 of them out the door. Well, I mean, well, with Kevin Durant, you're going to get a lot more. Um, And I think Amin Thompson creates more open threes with his ability to get downhill. So Fred Van Vliet is also going to get a lot more. And I think Jabari Smith Jr. is going to have a big jump next season in terms of 3-point shots that he's knocking down. So uh I think they're gonna be fine in terms of 3-point shooting. The real question is gonna be, does Tari Eason take that next step as a shooter, getting up more attempts and can continue to create turnovers along with Dorian Finney Smith? They have a lot of length and versatility there. And so I think that that looks pretty good going into next season. Aaron Holiday, let's see if he can get that role. I think because I like him as a feisty two-way kind of point guard. But Reed Shepard is the one they really need to step in and be a shooter for them. You also want to talk about the Houston Rockets here, or y'all want to move on to someone else? I'm kind of almost, uh, yeah, done with this Dannis Jenkins conversation because we're really talking about a G League guy if he's going to be our backup point guard for a playoff team. And you have to understand, I said it over and over again, the backup point guard position is essentially your point guard position, right? Like that's what you're really actually saying. I think he could be our starter when we need him to be. If you think that about Dannis Jenkins from a summer league, come on. Let me see. Look at some of these comments here. This is an interactive chat. Let's move on from the Houston Rockets. Who, if you want me to talk about another team, let me know in the comments section. What do you like that they're doing this offseason? We talked about the Pacers. We talked about of course, the Pistons. We talked about the Houston Rockets. I actually also like what the Chicago Bulls have been doing. I really like Noah Asingwe and Matas Buzelis. Those are two high motor extremely athletic forwards who are going to play really well in the open court, but also play really well in the half court in terms of their ability to play under control, do a lot of the little scrappy things while also playing on the offensive glass, knocking down open shots, straight line drives. They really bring a lot of versatility to that Chicago roster. So I think it allows them to depend less on Patrick Williams, who just doesn't have the same motor or offensive confidence that those two have. And I think it gives them another dimension to that team. Josh Giddey is likely going to be there next season, especially trading away Lonzo Ball. I really like Io DeSumo as well, along with Trey Jones, um, and Kobe White. So I like that roster. I think Billy Donovan is a good enough coach to put it all together. And now that they have some better talent, I think it raises their ceiling slightly. Dante Massey, what do you think of Lonzo Ball's fit in Cleveland? I talked about it a little bit yesterday. I think it's a perfect fit. I think he can more than start for minutes without Darius Garland or Donovan Mitchell. I think he's a great player when it comes to defense and increasing the offensive efficiency. He finds guys, he makes the game easy. He sees the court on a phenom level. You know, he sees the court like Jason Kidd and LeBron James and Chris Paul and Steve Nash and the greats. And that helps any offense. It helps any team. And the fact that he plays defense too just only adds to it. And at 6'5", it allows him to play off of those lead guards. And now that he's knocking down threes consistently, I think he's that much better. Um, so now that team is set up more for the playoffs in case they have to play without one of those guards. They have a high level guard who can play alongside of him. And I think if he's healthy for a playoff run, he has a big playoff. It's not going to be the drop off that, the fool's gold of what's his name? What was the backup point guard for them last year? What was his name? Let me know in the comments what his name. You know what I'm thinking of. Uh, about 6'5", 6'6", played for Virginia. Bounced around the league a lot. I'm thinking of Cleveland Cavaliers last season. He's no longer on the roster this year, I don't think. Anyway, yeah, I don't think they have the drop off from a guy who wasn't necessarily him. Get some of these other comments here before I hop off. Yo, Tony, man, what's good? It's good to see you, bruh. It's good to see you, bruh. Appreciate it. Calm guy, what's good, man? You always love seeing y'all. My community here is dope. Dwayne Pritchett. Uh, then you want to act like Clintman deserves minutes. Dennis has looked way better than Clintman. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I think it's easy to look at one aspect of the game, and this is jumping back to this comment: summer league, how guys are performing. Dannis Jenkins scoring, getting buckets as a lead guard is not the same as 6'10" Bobby Clintman showing the ability to shoot on the move, rebound consistently, which he has done, defend, and be able to get out in the open court and make great passes. The skill versatility that Bobby Clintman has shown at 6'10" is not the same as the scoring that Dannis Jenkins has shown at 6'2". It's not the same. Even then, Bobby Clintman is like your 11th man on the bench. 11th. 11th. Right? I'm not talking about he's coming in right now as number 6, 7, 8. He's 11th. So when you start comparing them, I'm like, well, he's 11th, and I'm telling you, Dannis Jenkins is likely number 14. That's the reality of it. That's the reality. He's not our backup point guard. He's not. Marcus Sasser is going to be fighting to get to that ninth in the rotation. And if he really balls out, he might get to the 8th man in the rotation. Best case scenario, behind Ron Holland and Isaiah Stewart. And he's got to beat out Karis LeVert and Duncan Robinson. Right? So what are we talking about? And he's had 20 plus point games in real games throughout the regular season. Right? Not G League. So for you to compare G League and try to say, I forget who said, I saw it, I didn't even want to comment on it. He said Marcus Sasser struggled last year in the G League. Yeah. Here's Johnny 2.0. Well, here's Johnny with a bad comment. Sasser sucked in summer league last year, to be honest, was his biggest fan, took criticism for it too. Deer in the headlights. I tried to explain to you, he was being asked to play out of his comfort zone. They were asking him to be a setup guy like Dennis Schroeder, not the downhill scorer that he is, who can also light it up from the perimeter. Now this season, they don't need a Dennis Schroeder anymore. That's why I explained at the beginning of this. What they need is exactly who he is: the bucket getter, the shooter, the playmaker, the shot creator. That's who they need him to be, which is who he is. And considering he's been on the active roster for the past 2 seasons, playing with this core, his familiarity and continuity, his chemistry, and gelling with those guys far supersedes what Dannis Jenkins has been doing in the G League for the past couple years and Summer League. So when we talk about projecting going into next season, Dannis Jenkins is not leapfrogging Marcus Sasser unless he gets traded. It's the only way he leapfrogs him. which I still think Marcus Sasser could ball out for this team, especially in a playoff run. Because I keep saying it, if he was playing those minutes instead of Malik Beasley, I think we have a different series on our hand because Marcus Sasser could get buckets. Even if he's 6'2", getting shot over. Hey, Malik Beasley was 6'3" and a half, getting shot over. So what are we talking about? Look at some of these comments here. Um, Great offensively. Yep, shoots great percentage. Brooks, Green have way better volume than him last season. But I think the efficiency, referring to the Kevin Durant, Joe B's comment, I think the efficiency outweighs the volume of Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green, which is why they went out and got Durant. Calm guy, salute Rock. I got the Rockets going to the finals. KD with that young talent will be a difference maker. True, and I think they also build out the rest of that roster and bring in a shooter. Um, Let me see. Joe B, which is my main worry there. It's about how screwed the Rockets are when KD misses his obligatory 20 games. I don't think so. I think when he misses those games, you're going to see Amin Thompson take a big step up next year. And I think that Fred Van Vliet, Amin Thompson, and Alperen Şengün, plus what I'm already projecting Jabari Smith Jr. taking another step next season, I think they're going to be just fine. They're going to be just fine offensively. Um, Reed Shepard, I think he's going to be on the active roster this year, and I think he's also going to figure it out. Come in probably as an off guard shooter, um, along with Aaron Holiday, and then they're going to shift into a more defensive team. Do you have any dark horses in the East Conference? Dark horse. That's actually a great question. One of my favorite questions, if I'm honest. I love talking about dark horses. The teams that come out of nowhere, sneak up on you, and are able to shoot past a lot of people's expectations. I always have to say the Atlanta Hawks and Trey Young. I think Trey Young is one of the most underrated talents and overlooked talents. He's a superstar talent. He just is. Orlando, I wouldn't say Orlando. Calabos 9. I wouldn't say Orlando because they aren't a dark horse. I think we look at them and we see them as a top four. As a top four. Steph and B. Any quick thoughts on the Raptors? I'm gonna get to them next. Um, yeah, I think probably the biggest dark horse would be the Atlanta Hawks because they're a team that was in the playoffs, has been in the play-in multiple years in a row. Usually break through and get to the playoffs. Didn't last year, but I think healthy. Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels, Zachary Risachet, I think is going to take a jump. He's going to take a big step next year. Playing with Trey Young, the bench is more solidified. They've got a new influx of talent there. I think if they're healthy going into the playoffs, I think that's a team that can scare a lot of teams. Because if you have a guard that can control the pace of the game, that can literally control the game, you have a chance to beat anybody. Literally. And if you have the right talent around them, which they now do, if Porzingis is healthy, and that's a huge if, I think they have an opportunity. They could be a dark horse. Some of these other guys, you did ask about the Toronto Raptors. Oh, I really like the Wizards' young core. We talked about them a little bit. Here's Johnny. Bobby sucks too, to be honest. Passer, yeah, I'll pass. All right, you don't like Bobby. All right. Jenkins is solid. I think Jenkins is solid. He's just an end of the bench guy, along with Bobby Klintman. But I think Bobby Klintman plays better as an auxiliary guy off of other really good talents. He's going to move extremely well without the ball, knocking down shots like a Cam Johnson, and he can put the ball on the floor and make really good passes while still rebounding. That value playing amongst Asar and Duran and Cade and Ivy and Ron is going to be far more than Dannis Jenkins, who probably needs the ball in his hands. And you're not going to put the ball in his hands when you got Ivy and Cade and Asar and Ron and everyone else. That's what I'm saying. Washington, I think they have a really talented young core. I really like, Dante. Yep, I really like Bilal Koulibaly as well. Uh, I think he'll have a really good year. Bub will have to fight for minutes because Trey Johnson is here, bro. That boy Trey Johnson. That boy Trey Johnson. I'm trying to think of a comparison. Michael Redd comes to mind. He's a flamethrower. He is, you know, I've often said this. Not everybody who is good at scoring is built to be a volume scorer in the NBA. Not everyone who is good at scoring is built to be a volume scorer in the NBA. It takes a level of athleticism. It takes a level of understanding the game, seeing the game to get into your shots easily. Easily. Trey Johnson is one of those. It's easy for him. He actually kind of reminds me of Damian Lillard in terms of mindset. Yeah, everybody named Trey can shoot. Tony. Hey, facts, big facts. If your name is Trey, I'm probably gonna draft you off GP of good principle, right? Like, hey, he probably his name is Trey. I'm gonna get Trey. I'm gonna pick Trey. You know what? Give me Trey at the end. I think Trey gonna hit me a shot in a big moment in a pickup game. I mess with a Trey. Trey's get buckets. Trey Johnson. He's gonna be an absolute bucket. I think he's already surpassed Bub Carrington on that Wizards depth chart. I think he's your starting shooting guard from day one, or he gets off the bench quickly. I also think Bilal Coulibaly is going to start growing into his Paul Georgeness because they've been grooming him for that the last 2 years. They have been grooming him for that the last couple years. Keyshawn George also looks really good. Alex Sarr as well. I think they have a lot of quality talent, and now they have the depth of veterans. Chris Middleton, CJ McCollum. Still got Marcus Smart under contract. I think the Wizards are a team that could sneakily get close to that play in. Yeah. They've got a lot of good. Rashawn Holmes still there. I think they need some more front court help. That might be a direction that they go. Maybe looking at Phoenix, they got all those centers there with Malawach, Richards, and Mark Williams. Houston has got a lot of centers with Steven Adams and what's his name from the Atlanta Hawks. The center there. What's his name? Shucks, I hate forgetting names. Uh, the Houston one, because Houston needs a really good shooting guard, and Washington has a whole bunch of them. Yeah, they might go after Clint Capella. That could be a great big to throw in to give them some depth at the center position. But Washington has a really talented young roster. I don't think that they force their way into the playoffs. I don't think that that's what they're trying to do. They're still going to play the young guys, but they have veterans that can balance it out, much like Tobias Harris, Malik Beasley, and Tim Hardaway Jr. was able to do for the Detroit Pistons. I just don't think that they have the top end talent of a Cade Cunningham and a Jaden Ivey, but they've got close. Alex Sarr gets close, and Bilal Coulibaly as well, and now Trey Johnson. So expect to see that come together, but I don't think that they make the play in. I think that they're back in the lottery, and they probably go after AJ DeBonsa. Um, Maybe Brown Jr. to be the point guard for the future, or they go after Cam Boozer. Right, I think that's how they round out next season. Now, my man want to get to the Toronto Raptors. I talked a little bit about them last night. Let me just say, ooh, Sports Times, Angel Reese. Yes, we could talk about it a little bit. Um, Let me say this: Toronto Raptors. I don't know what direction they're going in after letting go of Masai Ujiri, or deciding to part ways. I guess equal size to parted ways. But I will say this: that they will give it half a season. They will give it. Drink some water, mommy. They will give it to the trade deadline and give them an opportunity to see if they can compete. If they are a playoff team by the trade deadline, they double down on the roster. Otherwise, I can also see them go and make a move, trading someone like RJ Barrett to Milwaukee, who I've already heard rumblings about. And I called it. I said Cole Anthony's trying to make his way to Milwaukee. Heard that from another. Yo, I follow a lot of these cats. Like, I love the YouTubers who ride for their teams, and they're just the basic guys. They got 1,000 to 5,000 subscribers. They're just dudes who do it for the love, and they have a heart. They have an ear to the ground. They're paying attention. They have a lot of foresight. They're really invested in their team. They just do it for the love, not the guys with 20,000, 30,000, 2 million. Like, those guys are just talking about the stuff at the periphery, trying to get clicks. And so I forget the name of the dude that I follow on YouTube for the Milwaukee Bucks, but he called that out with the Cole Anthony, and I was like, okay, a little birdie told me, a source told me, and it ended up being true. Cole Anthony found his way to the Milwaukee Bucks, and I think what that does is it gives them even more depth at that point guard position. Kevin Porter Jr., Ryan Rollins, and now you have Amara's Logic. That's who the Milwaukee Bucks guy is for me. For the Hawks, we talk Hawks. That's one of my main guys as well. Um, but yeah, I got a NOB for the New Orleans Pelicans. I think they have a great channel on there. If you want any New Orleans Pelicans talk, they're very entertaining but really knowledgeable. They have great conversations as well over there. But I follow all this, so when I'm talking about it, I'm not just talking off the dome. I just like to listen. Just like to listen as I'm moving throughout my day. But if the Milwaukee Bucks can trade for somebody like RJ Barrett, they're gonna be right there. They're gonna be right there. I wouldn't call them a dark horse because they got Giannis, so we're always looking at them. But if they get RJ Barrett, yep, squad, squad, they're gonna be nice. Gonna be nice. Who else y'all want me to dive into before I get Ryan Nimhard? Too easy for him. Ryan Nimhard is actually really good. He's a really good player. Um, what Philly gonna do? Calabos 9. That's a great question. Philly, they need to re-sign Quentin Grimes. Um, yeah, I just don't. Yeah, Stephen B. I don't think Scotty Barnes is that guy. I think he's their Aaron Gordon, really high level, third best player on a championship team. I just don't think he's like he's practically Cooper Flag. You know, I think that's the level of player he is. He's never gonna be the one or two scoring option. And they have to figure that's why they brought in Brandon Ingram, and they still have to figure out one more scorer to bring in there. I don't like the draft pick for them, but Toronto is gonna see if they have something, if Masai's vision can play out, and then they'll make moves by the trade deadline. In regards to Philly, they got to re-sign Quentin Grimes. That's a must. They're in a terrible situation because Joel Embiid's never going to be healthy. Ooh, Ray Floyd, Portland. You already knew I wanted to talk about Portland. Um, Philly, I don't think that they have positioned themselves. Let me look at this roster really quick to really be able to play without Joel. I like VJ. I like him a lot. I think VJ could be the reason why they haven't re-signed Quentin Grimes yet because VJ looks legit. What he did in his first couple games, they're just like, okay, yeah, okay, we're good. Sit on down. Yep, you are a rotation guy, if not more. If not more. His ability to play in space, in tight spaces, the handle, the shooting, the confidence. He looked real comfortable. That's an NBA guy. That's an NBA guy. He's a rotation guy. You don't see him in the G League. He's likely why they haven't re-signed Quentin Grimes. Uh, but I like the roster. I just don't think they have enough in the front court. When I look at this, Andre Drummond, they still have under contract. Adem Bona has looked decent. I like the Trendon Watford pickup. Dominic Barlow is like, oh man, you're really scraping the bottom of the barrel there. You still got Eric Gordon under contract, Janai Broom. should not be in your rotation. He should be a break in case of emergency, G Leaguer. If they're hoping that between Joel Embiid, Andre Drummond, what's crazy is they're the same age, Drummond and Embiid. I feel like Drummond was in the league for hella long before Embiid ever got there. But he did come in at like 17, 18 years old though. Something like that. They might do center by committee. Power forward, probably Paul George, Trendon Watford. I don't like that front court rotation. Ooh, they got Jabari Walker though. I I liked Jabari. Y'all, if you follow my channel, I've talked about Jabari Walker a lot. Good rotation guy. I like him. I'm here for it. I like him. Uh wow, that's actually a really good pickup. That's a really good pickup for them. Maybe they believe in Adembona. I wish they probably had like a Clint Capella or Nick Richard as like a third kind of 7-footer to play behind Drummond and Embiid. But we'll see. Depends on the start that they get off to. But they're kind of locked in between Embiid's contract, Tyrese Maxey, and Paul George. They are stuck in this space. And I can understand why they may not have re-signed Quentin Grimes. So he's available. I would love for the Rockets to get Quentin Grimes. Yo, if the Rockets grab Quentin Grimes, bro, let's talk about it. They grab Quentin Grimes. I might start looking at them as favorites. I appreciate that, Calabos 9. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Once again, we got 25 people in the chat. Smash the like button for me. It's a small thing, but it's a big thing. Really helps out with the channel. And if you enjoy having interactive live conversations with a live streamer, such as myself, hit the subscribe and the bell notification because I do these regularly, but it's not always at the same time. So you can get notified as soon as I get live. And you can be a part of the interactive conversation. Small thing, but it's a big thing. Hit the like button and the bell for notifications and subscribe while you're there. It lets the YouTube algorithm know that you enjoy this type of dynamic uh, in a live stream on YouTube. All that's to say is if Houston gets Quentin Grimes, shut it down, bro. Shut it down. Quentin Grimes is the type of acquisition for Houston who is going to be a part of their closing lineup. They're going to have a hard time not having Quentin Grimes, Amen Thompson, Fred VanVleet, Kevin Durant, Şengün, or Jabari Smith, or Steven. Like, they're going to have mad options. And the best part about it is Quentin Grimes brings not just shooting, he also brings playmaking, off-ball movement, right? The things that we're hoping Reed Shepherd figures out how to do, he does in spades. I wouldn't be shocked if they're able to do like a sign and trade, signing him, shipping him out for Clint Capella, right? You don't need that many centers, especially when Jabari Smith Jr. and Alperen Şengün hold down the front court. But then again, we could see Steven Adams, Clint Capella be a starting rotation center position with Jabari Smith coming off the bench, though I don't think so because they just re-signed him for like an extension that's around 25 mil a year. But 25 mil a year is still just kind of a rotation guy contract. Not necessarily off the bench, but definitely a rotation guy. So who knows how they decide to play with his positioning on that team. All to say is that they have more than enough front court play um, to make a move and get some help in their backcourt because behind Fred and Amen Thompson, I don't know how many guys I necessarily really trust in a playoff run off the bench. Aaron Holiday, I kind of trust. Comes from good stock. Drew, Justin Holiday, he's part of the Holiday brother trio. And he's a baller. He's a hooper. He loves to play. He plays defense. He can knock down shots. He's getting better and better as a finisher. I think he's going to be a TJ McConnell type where he just keeps getting better and he just sticks in the league. He's one of those. Um, I like him, but they still need a shooter. If they can get Quentin Grimes, I just shut it down. I'll just be like, damn. That's a ridiculous level of depth. But yeah, who else y'all want me to talk about before I hop off this stream? BJ's and Edwards light. You know what? I'm gonna wait for the season before I go to that extent. You see Zach Lowe and the guys, yeah, about Kadasar during, yeah, they're finally, I did watch some of that. But he's saying stuff that we've been saying. He's basically saying like confirm like, which is really big. Somebody with his level of a platform talking as in depth about the Detroit Pistons core, and I'm talking about Zach Lowe and Sports Times comment about if I saw his recent live on the Detroit Pistons. He did like a whole segment behind the Los Angeles Lakers. Uh, he was saying what I've been saying, that this core is special. And he really hadn't gotten into like the Ron Holland and, you know, uh, future upside of this roster, but he's acknowledging, he's like, yo, if they put this together, if they put this together, they are scary. And that's what we've been saying. That's what we've been acknowledging. And so for some people, who are later to the game, they're like, yo, can we really be this? Do we need somebody else? And I'm like, we don't need nobody else. We don't. I've been saying this since last season. I've been saying this since the 14 win. Yeah, the guys who are going to turn this ship around and head us to a championship are already on the team. Sasser will not be replaced by Lanier. At least not this season. At least not this season. Lanier is not good with the ball, as good with the ball in his hands and playmaking, shot creating. He's more of an off-ball movement shooter who can do a dribble handoff and make a move, one or two dribbles. But that's where you kind of want him to stay. Off-ball mover. With the ball in his hands is different. Um, yeah, so Chaz Lanier, to me, Chaz Lanier is Duncan Robinson's replacement in 2 years. That's who he is to me. That's who he is to me. But it's to say, what was I just talking about? Yeah, they're finally recognizing the Detroit Pistons, but fully expect as we go into next year, you're going to get some, you're going to get more and more conversation about the Detroit Pistons. And unfortunately, what it's also going to mean is that you're going to get a lot of people saying a lot of wild stuff. And you're going to have to come back to my channel to get brought down to earth when they out there talking about, you know, uh, Dannis Jenkins being our backup point guard. No, let's start talking about, hey, let's just make an all-in move right now and trade. So no, I'm gonna give you the real. Like I said, look, I'm your man, 100 grand. I'm gonna tell you the truth even when you don't want to hear it. All right, I'm gonna tell you to prove it, even when you think that you know it. And we're gonna talk about it right here on this channel. Next season is gonna be our coming out party. This season was like a wait, what? Who? And then we lost in the first round. They was like, oh, okay, yeah, yeah, okay. And then this offseason, they're like, I guess next year we're in the playoff positioning for the first 2 months, 3 months. They're gonna be like, you know what? There's really something here. This Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey combination is, and you see this Asar guy and what Jalen Duran did last night with the double double and another man and Ron Holland, man, they really got something on it. And they're gonna start talking about us like the Oklahoma City Thunder were talked about a couple years ago. All right. Now I had us projected at 44 to 46 wins. I may need to adjust that number, but I'm going to wait until after preseason. And then I'm going to see how they position Ron Holland after a training camp and all those different things. He's Beasley 2.0. I think he's a little bit better than Beasley, but he's bigger, stronger, better defensively. But yeah, he's in that vein. Uh, can I compete? My team, Trey Young, Trey Mann, Trey Jones. Tony J. Oh, that's hilarious. I love it. I love it, bro. Trey's out here be killing them. I don't think they got a big man though. Trey Young, Trey Mann, Trey Jones, Trey Murphy, Trey Burke. Is Trey Burke even still in the league anymore? Trey Johnson, Trey Lyles, and Trey Jameson. They're gonna have shooting. Play on the perimeter for sure. But they ain't got a big man though. There hasn't been a trade. But I tell you right now, If I see a 7 footer by the name of Trey, I'm locking him in as another 3 point shooting big. That's for damn sure. That's for sure. That's for sure. But let me wrap this up. It's almost been 90 minutes again, man. This has been fun, y'all. Any other team you want me to talk about real quick before I hop off? Did I get to the teams you wanted me to talk about? Oh, Portland. Yes, Portland. I think, and I've called this out before already over the last few days. I think Hansen Yang starts for the Portland Trailblazers. If not immediately, I wouldn't be shocked if he's not starting immediately out of training camp. I think he's better than Donovan Clingan on both ends. Donovan Clingan is an elite shot blocker, but I think Hansen Yang has close to, if not as good, of shot blocking ability. But he's so much more superior on the offensive end. I think Hansen Yang is to Donovan Clingan what Nikola Jokic was to Yusuf Nurkic in Denver. I'll say that again. Quote me, right? Please do. I ain't tripping. I ain't never been scared of y'all mother in my Bernie Mac voice. I said it. Hansen Yang is to Donovan Clingan what Nikola Jokic was to Yusuf Nurkic in Denver. Nurkic looked serviceable, good even. And then they said, but this guy's different. Jokic is different. Hansen Yang is different. He's different, bro. The things he's doing cerebrally out there, and I had to explain, I had to break it down yesterday. All the different things that big men are asked to do, that many of them are straining to figure out. They're really trying to keep in mind all the different coverages defensively, offensively, how to set a solid screen without moving to make sure you still get body on the defensive guard while then knowing your timing and how to open up your body to then be available maximally that has gravity for the defense in a pick and roll, also knowing when to pick and pop, how to stay in that mid-range area to also be a short roller. So if you get the ball at the free throw line, you turn and don't just look to shoot or finish, but also can make the read for the help defenders, right? There's so many things you're doing along with the footwork, ball handling, passing acumen, floor vision that's required of the center position today, along with you still need to be able to box out, rebound, challenge at the rim, be more than efficient, finishing with both hands with soft touch. You also need soft touch and receiving post entry passes, lobs, and dump offs, along with pick and roll drop offs, like the things that they're asked to do. Some of y'all just think, oh, you're just a 7 footer. No, no. Cerebrally, the things you need to be able to do is usually what prevents most big men who we're excited about from getting burned. James Wiseman was an incredible talent, a number 2 pick. His talent was all NBA between the ears. And knowing how to play the position, it's taken him 3, 4 years, full seasons. And he still really wasn't ready. We thought last season he was going to step into it, but he tore his Achilles after 4 years in the league. Hansen Yang can do 90% of that cerebral stuff right now as a rookie. Hasn't played a moment of NBA basketball yet. So now he's just hooping. He's finding guys, right? Hitting the roll, kicking out to the weak side corner. He sees the passes. He can manipulate the defense with his eyes, his passing ability, ball fakes. He can shoot the three, right? Extremely talented. The fact that you're already going young next year with Scoot Henderson, Shaden Sharp, you might as well just put him right there. Tony J, what's good, man? Idea: trade Marcus Sasser to Cleveland for Dean Wade. Give Jenkins a full contract, fill 2 needs, and keep 2 exemptions in back pocket. No. I'm explain why. And I said this at the beginning. Whoever your backup point guard is, you are essentially saying, I would trust you to be our starting point guard in case someone gets hurt, which they do. Knock on wood. Cade is likely not going to play 70 something games again. Are you comfortable with Dannis Jenkins being your starting point guard or having to play 15 to 20 minutes a game off the bench for the Detroit Pistons, vying for a playoff spot? My answer is hell no. You're saying Sasser is not it. I'm saying that Sasser has always been it. And even though they asked him to play a little bit out of position last season, I think this year he comes in hot, comes in smoking. And what they need from that position is far more aligned with who he already is, which is a bucket, a shooter, a floor spacer, playmaker, shot creator at a high level, at an NBA level. And he's already shown it. You look at go back and look at his double digit scoring games throughout the last 2 seasons. He looks 100% like an NBA player. This is where watching NBA basketball for 20 years. No, I'm sorry, not 20 years. It's probably around what Michael Jordan's first championship against the Lakers is when I started watching. We're looking at 30 years, 25 years, 26 years, something like that. There's certain things you see consistently about NBA players, how they move on the court. There's an ease in which they move with the ball in their hands, the things that they do. Certain things come naturally to them. And it's not to say they didn't have to work hard and develop these skills, but they've done it so much at a younger age that by the time they get into the NBA, these things are second nature. There's certain things that Marcus Sasser is doing that I don't think people even recognize. His ability to handle the ball and get to spots on the court and get his shot off, the feel for it, the spacing, the timing, the footwork, the touch, the confidence, the range, the finishing with both hands, the creativity. These things that he's already shown he can do at a high level, even if he had a down year in his second year, right? Context matters. They needed something different from his position than what he was. He struggled with being that. So he was not able to perform at the highest level. Now it has shifted back into what he is naturally. So he has the opportunity to play towards his strengths, which allow him to perform that much more. What Dannis Jenkins is doing in Summer League is great. It doesn't mean you're ready for the big time. If Dannis Jenkins was a talent that was ready for the big time, they would have brought him up last year. I'm just saying. What's good, D Dubs? Um, you better come in smoking with Lanier on his hip. I do think so as well. I think Sasser comes in smoking. I think he comes in hot. Like he's got everything to prove. And they know I've been saying this. The Detroit Pistons are not playing around with development. It's no longer a developmental team. This is a team that's saying by the trade deadline, we're going to have our core and we're going to bring the rest in for a playoff run. For a playoff run. Yo, I gotta get out of here. Gotta get out of here. I appreciate all of y'all, man. This has been a lot of fun. We hit 90 minutes again. Y'all make it hard to get off of here. Think about some teams you also want me to talk about. So when I come back on here, we can talk about it. Um, the off season is kind of culminating. It's coming to a head. There's some guys that I think were talked about on, and I might actually talk about the guys who are still unsigned that we still need to figure out what they're going to do with because they can move the needle for a lot of teams. But I'll say this. Um, they're still worth talking about because there's a lot of movement taking place in the NBA. So think about what teams you want me to talk about that I haven't talked about yet. I think I've talked about the Pacers, talked a little bit about the Bucks, the Bulls. I've talked about the Magic. I've talked about the Portland Trailblazers now, Toronto Raptors, Boston Celtics. I think I said that already. Cleveland Cavaliers, of course, the Pistons. I always be talking about them. And now the Houston Rockets, Phoenix Suns. Let me know who else you want me to talk about as we continue to show up for these lives. Remember, smash the like button for me, hit subscribe and the bell for notifications. Small thing, but a big thing. And hit the bell so you're notified the moment I go live so you can be a part of the interactive conversation. And I'm going to get at y'all next time. Peace.